Hello! Welcome to Next Matter Tutorials. Today, I'll show you how to easily send data from one workflow to the next. I'll explain it while building a sales workflow. In the workflow, we'll provide some details about a prospect, decide if they are our target, start a new workflow, and send customer data from one workflow to the follow-up one. It might sound complicated, but in Next Matter, you can do it in minutes. First, let's build a workflow. Ours will consist of several steps. All the steps are listed here on the left. In the first step I created, a sales rep fills in lead data such as name or email. We can add more fields to this form anytime. Let's go ahead and add form field. I'm now creating a field to add the lead's position in the company. As you can see, we can also configure the field's label and placeholder. We can drag and drop the field to where we want to have it. In step 2, we'll qualify the lead. We can assign the step to a team or a specific person. For now, I'll go ahead and assign it to myself. However, the step can even be assigned to an external person. Now, let's write the instructions for the assignee. We'll be using this workflow for a number of different leads, so the name and email of the lead will change. That's why it's a good idea to use data references here. Data reference will pull the data from a step and enter it here. Let's find the reference to the name and email provided in step 1 and source provided in step 2. When we run the workflow, users will not see the references in brackets, but plain text. Now that we have all the data, we'll create an integration step to launch a new workflow from this one. The new workflow will create an offer for the prospect. We'll use a Next Matter API for them and authenticate the call with the API token I generated in Next Matter. However, before we launch a new flow, let's put a condition in place so that an offer is generated only when the lead's company wants to proceed. I'll go ahead and add the condition and specify the criteria. We'll also create a step to send the lead name and email from this workflow to the follow-up one. To specify which field input I want to send, and from which step, I'll need a step ID and a form field ID. I need to copy them and enter in the body of my call right here. I'll show you how to find them later on. You can find your form field ID here. You simply click the icon to copy the ID. ID is different for every field, so make sure to copy all the ID of the fields you want to use in your API calls. You will find the step ID here at the end of the URL that's in your browser. Now, I'll build a workflow that will launch automatically when a lead wants to proceed. I already have a draft, so let me look for it. It's here. I've already created a step and fields for the data that should be filled in from the main workflow. Now I'll create an email step that will present the offer to the customer. I'll add an email step and configure it. By default, it will be sent from the Next Matter portal. I'll reuse data from the workflow to fill in the customer's email address and name. I'll click the curly brackets to open the reference picker, and we'll look for the lead email. Then I'll use data reference to fill in the name in the body of my email. I'll write up the rest, but I can use other data references here if I want to. I'll also add a permanent attachment so it's sent every time I run this workflow. Now my main and follow-up workflows are ready. Let's see how they work in practice. I'll return to my main workflow and start it manually. I'm clicking the pay icon, and I need to fill in a few bits of data like the name and deadline. In my configuration, I can also select to name the instance automatically. I click to start the instance. I'm now filling in the data as the sales rep would. When I've completed all fields, I need to click Complete. That will open the next step of the workflow. I'm completing all the fields here as they are all required fields. When I'm done, I'll click Complete. Now you can see that the workflow starts the automatic steps of launching the follow-up instance and sending the name and email of the lead. Note that the follow-up workflow started because the condition we specified for the launch step was met. We selected Yes in the Wants to Proceed field. If the rep selected No, the follow-up workflow wouldn't start. Now our workflow completes. Before we go to the follow-up instance, you can check the condition by hovering over the image. Now let's click the link here to go to the follow-up workflow. You can see that the follow-up workflow has the sent over data, and that the email was sent automatically to the lead using this data. Well done, NextMatter. Another successful workflow. If you liked this tutorial, visit us at nextmatter.com and try NextMatter free of charge.